All right, and so now we can start the meeting, I think. Everyone's good? All right, good, excellent. All right, so thank you all. I apologize for the technical difficulties here. One thing you're gonna have to do is remind me to remind me to turn this my computer to whoever talking, because the owl is not working.
I'll do it. I'll be the owl because this is working. So you just run the meeting and I'll.
All right, so great. All right, so the first thing on our agenda is to review the minutes of the March 25th meeting at the 18th. Which I sent around, we've got to take a look at it, and I think you have hard copies here.
Hey, Mark, this is Miriam.
Yep.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but just a reminder, I don't know if you did this, but for the recording, you should always name everybody from the committee that's present, because they wouldn't.
That's true.
Okay, that's good. So I was reviewing the minutes. I'll go through and introduce everybody. So on the committee, we have Catherine Hilton, Terry Smith, Howard Kinder, John Gorey, Eric Stocker, and Mary David, and myself, Mark. We have as guests, we have John Kinder and Miriam DeFont. Did I get everybody?
Yes, I think so.
Excellent. Thank you, Miriam. So I was just taking a quick look at the minutes here, making sure that I got everything correct, or if there's any change, and if there's any changes that need to be made.
Looks good to me.
I move we accept the minutes.
Second.
So just gonna give one more second, so for everyone to take a quick look at it. So we have a motion and a second to accept the minutes. I guess we'll do a vote. Catherine,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
John, yes. Eric,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
and Mark, yes. All right, excellent. All right, item 2 on the agenda is the dam inspection and notice of intent. So what I did is I talked to Becky, and I asked her if she needed any help, because she said she was buried and she'd love a little help to put together the scope of what we need to do for the notice of intent and the chapter 91 dock permit, operating permit. And she said, once we get the scope done, she would then take it and put all the boilerplate stuff into it and send it out to the different companies. So what I did is with some help, put together this request for proposal. And what I did is I broke it into 3 sections. But the intent here is that one company would handle the whole thing. So there's 3 sections. One is to get the permissions for the drawdown and the Chapter 91 waterways license. The second item is put together a scope and a cost estimate for the repairs that were recommended in the last dam inspection report. And the third item is just to do future dam inspections starting in 2025, because we believe that Morris is still on track to do this year's inspection. I'm not sure if anyone's had a chance to look at it. I have gotten comments from a few people and from Concom, Marion provides some comments, which I'm going to incorporate. And so I guess the question is how do we want to proceed?
Could you clarify that a little bit? How do we want to proceed? I mean, in continuing to develop this?
Yes, or do we need, is there any suggestions, or is it good enough as it is?
Well, you said you had things to add.
Yeah, there's two items that Miriam or Concom wanted. One is to have a notice of intent to cover both the chapter 91 permit for the operating the dam and the drawdown. And so I originally had it that way, and I changed it, and so I'm basically going to change it back so that there's going to be one order of conditions, one notice of intent for both major functions. The second thing that Miriam would like us to add is a recommendation for them to install an automated monitoring system to monitor the height of the lake on a web-based system. And so I can put that in there. So basically, anyone in town could get on, or Howard could get on from his house and look at the level of the lake.
And how would that be done? There's no electric there, is there? There's no Wi-Fi communication there.
There's some issues regarding how technically possible it is. Miriam was saying, I apologize, Miriam, if I'm speaking for you. Actually, Miriam's got her hand up. So why don't I let her jump in here?
Yeah, thanks. And Mark, I think I agree. And I wholeheartedly support the idea of having one notice of intent for it all, because that just seems like it would save time and money and permitting hassles. Just seems more efficient to me, all the way around. So I think that's a good idea. What I was saying is that many ponds, reservoirs, and streams have electronic monitoring, and there are all sorts of systems available that are designed to be off-grid. They can be battery operated. They can have, some of them have little solar panels built into them if the location has enough solar access. Some of them have a digital package so that they're linked to the internet and upload in real time, and allow for real-time monitoring, or you can have it stored on a chip, a card, and then that's downloaded manually by taking the card out and reading it, downloading the information. So there's all sorts of systems. And in terms of cost, I just looked at a couple of them and they were really not that expensive. I saw one that was about $3,000. It had an integrated solar panel on it, and you could get a data package for $300 a year so that the graph in real time would be uploaded to the internet. So, I mean, that was just one example. There are many of them. And I was just suggesting that the town might want to look at a way to automate some of this to make it more accessible. The other thing I just want to throw out there as a recommendation, as you're looking at having a new dam inspection, would be to include in it and asking the engineer to give an opinion about ice load analysis. I looked through the last couple of inspection reports with my husband, who was really helpful in sort of teaching me a little bit about how you understand ice loading with hydraulic structures. And he showed me how you can look up what the ice load capacity is in the regulations, industry regulations. And then really it comes down to a recommendation from the engineer who's doing the inspection based on his inspection about the integrity of the concrete. He does a rating in this inspection that every year when he does them about the integrity of the concrete, but really it's an opinion that he needs to give based on his inspection. So at least my husband was thinking that opinion should not require a new inspection. It should be just part of the inspection. It's really taking the data he already has and just giving an interpretation. So he thought that could easily be incorporated into the next inspection report without additional cost to the town. Because one of the questions is, where is the risk? If there is an ice loading risk, at what level in the dam is that risk present? Is it up at the spillway? Is it down on the face of the dam? The inspecting engineer would be able to opine about that. People hear me? I don't know if anybody heard me.
I heard you.
Okay, great, thanks.
I don't think we can hear Mark again. Mark, are you talking?
I would just point out, Miriam, the engineer might be a woman. So you kept saying he. It could be he or she.
Thank you. I have a woman engineer that I gave birth to. And
See,
she would
there
not
you go.
she would
You
not
oughta know.
appreciate my saying that.
That's right.
We can't hear Mark.
Yeah, I don't know where Mark went there.
So I don't know if that was clear. I know, Eric, you had raised some concerns about not wanting to see additional expenses for the town, and my understanding is it wouldn't need, it really isn't about additional expenses. It's not like there's a special test you go out and do. It's just asking him to give an opinion about where the where the concrete might not meet the standards for ice loading. There's a certain threshold that hydraulic structures are supposed to have. I was 5,000 pounds per certain square area, I think. So, he would just have to get an opinion about if there were areas where he felt that the concrete couldn't tolerate that.
Right.
Or she would give that opinion.
Or she. I was going to say, I didn't
Oh,
correct you,
man.
but I always think of
I'm
that.
really bad.
Yeah. Are you guys rebooting again?
You hear me?
Now we
We
can.
can.
Okay.
After our last meeting, I found that the generator was on daylight saving time, so it didn't go off until 10:20. What didn't bother us at all, but they apparently have caught up. Hi, Walter.
So Walter just joined us. All right, so I apologize, Mary, can you pick up where you left off?
Mark, were you able to hear what I said?
We were just finished talking about the monitoring, the availability of various monitoring systems.
Okay, that's too bad. So you didn't hear all the other stuff?
Well, I really apologize for our generator problems here, but it's not good. Doesn't seem to be.
Do you want me to, should I repeat myself for the rest of?
Yeah, please, if you don't mind.
So what I was saying was that we had some discussion about the capacity of the dam to withstand ice and what is needed to protect the dam, particularly in the winter, and what level drawdown is needed. And that my husband is an engineer who works on dams. And so, he's been helpful to me because I'm not an engineer, but I'm interested, so I'm learning. And so he sat down with me and showed me, and I'm sorry, I'm not remembering it, but I think it was the ASTM manual for hydraulic structures. And we looked at what the loading requirements are for hydraulic structures like dams, how much ice loading they need to be able to withstand. And so the question then is, does the concrete on the dam meet those standards or not? And that what happens in your inspection reports is that your engineer has a rating. There's a table and there's a rating where the engineer gives a numerical rating as to the integrity of the concrete, but that doesn't really say specifically, does it meet that standard, and at what height of the dam does it meet that structure? Is there some part that doesn't? For example, is the spillway more vulnerable than the lower section of the dam? So really, it's an opinion that an engineer could give based on their inspection that they're going to do. So the next time you have an inspection, you could ask your engineer to opine about that and include whatever his opinion is in the report. He's already inspecting the concrete, so it's really just asking him to be more specific about the inspection he's already doing. So it shouldn't cost the town more money. It's not like a separate testing that has to be done. So that was a clarification that I got based on some discussion we had earlier at earlier meetings, where there was some concern about, would an ice load analysis require more expense or hiring another engineer and all that? And my understanding is it would not. It's really just asking your inspecting engineer to address that in their report. And then that could inform your notice of intent for the drawdown, because, you would have an opinion from an engineer saying, yes, you absolutely, this is the part of the dam that needs to be protected, if there is an area that you're concerned about.
Oh, Morris has said he was going to do this year's dam inspection was it June? Does anyone recall? And I think we can certainly ask Morris to do this. I don't think there's any issues there. My only concern is if Morris doesn't come through, we're in this little kind of a place here where we're going to make a transition from Morris to another company. And if Morris is going to come through, it'd be great. But if he doesn't, then we have to get somebody to gear up quickly to do it. And it can be done anytime. So I guess maybe what I'll do is, or maybe I'm up for ideas about how to proceed.
Mark, may I make a suggestion that, you're obviously proceeding with getting an inspection from Morris, and if that works, great. And proceed with that. But if it turns out that he's not going to be able to do it, you might be able to ask him just like to write a letter based on the inspection he did in 2021, if he has an opinion about it, and he might very well be able to provide that. And that might not necessarily be very expensive to the town to just get a clarification on the report he just issued. So, and that would still be pretty current from an inspection in 2021.
Okay, I can certainly ask that.
Yeah.
The problem is I'm not going to go between Morris. I think it's Becky. So we have to get Becky to contact Morris and confirm that he's available to do the inspection, and that and if he's not, can he comment on the structural stability of the dam with regard to ice level? Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me. And again, I appreciate Miriam's effort in all of this. I've done dam inspections myself. I had a recent conversation with Becky, and we're in FY23 until the end of June. So there's only a limited amount of money that's available in the current fiscal year budget. So all of the requests for proposal to move forward is, if Morris is retiring in June, we need to get an engineer on board. Morris has provided us a short list of companies. And so I think your RFP is great. But I think that when we get a new engineer on board, beginning in FY24, and it could be as soon as July 1, that this committee's recommended $25,000 to go into the budget to address the lake drawdown notice of intent. It doesn't, and we had no discussions about providing any type of monitoring system or anything like that. That would be the recommendation of a new engineer that would come on board. Okay, the Conservation Commission can recommend it. They have some funds that if it's that important to them from the notice of intents that they collect for all the people that live around the lake, they could maybe pony up some of the money to go into that type of monitoring system instead of holding it in their own coffers. Lake Wyola Association, which is a 501c3, they have some monies available, which might go towards the wildlife habitat management plan that is put out. If that was a wildlife management habitat plan, that would serve as the public document so that every person that lives on the lake isn't given an order of conditions by the Conservation Commission saying you need to have this wildlife study done. Maybe they would be willing to pony up a few $1,000s to go towards that. But, you know, I'm not a resident of Shutesbury. I serve in the capacity that I was asked to do many years ago on this committee. But I am in the town where I do live on the finance committee in that town. So I understand the fiscal year budget constraints of the town. And Eric could speak to this better, but you know, the idea that there's all this money out there to be spent by the town, just, you know, that type of stuff has to be appropriated through warrant articles at town meeting and different things. So trying to mix some of this together when really what this committee's role is as an advisory capacity to the board, and trying to mix, I think it might be a good idea to have a monitoring system of the lake level and stuff, but trying to mix that together with a RFP where we're just trying to get a new engineer on board complicates things to me, and it's not something that could be paid for. So in this current fiscal year. So I think that our role is in an advisory capacity to the board is to get an RFP that just like you have, Mark, is to address the notice of intent for the lake drawdown this fall. If you combine it with a Chapter 91 license for the dam, you're not going to get a Chapter 91 license between now and November 1st. That ain't happening. Okay, because it's a significant structure that type of Chapter 91 license will have to be signed off by the governor's office. Okay, for the type of license that will be. Those can take up to a couple of years to get.
So my thought actually was just to.
So I like the format that you put together, where it's just an RFP, where we're looking for a dam safety engineer. We're trying to address the lake drawdown notice of intent. And I agree. The dam is a structure, it has to get licensed. But that dam was built 170 or 150 years ago, before any of this permitting exists. It's one of probably 3,000 in the state that are in this situation. Why is it all of a sudden an issue? It's going to take some time. And I think if in FY24, if the town appropriated 25,000, you could handle the notice of intent for the lake drawdown, the wildlife habitat. We could go back and suggest to maybe the association, if that's going to be the governing document for the lake for wildlife habitat, maybe the lake association could contribute to it a little bit. But when we start to mix too many things into this, it may seem like it's going to be more efficient, but the bottom line is when Morris retires in June, we need to have a new dam and safety engineer. Then we're going to rely upon those professionals, not me or you or other people's opinions. We have to go with what those people that are certifying and putting their stamp on. And that's what, for me, is frustrating in my own job sometimes. As a registered licensed engineer, that is not the same as a landscape architect. It's not the same as a sanitarian. It's not the same as an environmental scientist that is holding a license like Morris has, or like someone at Ty and Bond or myself has, or Leonard Engineering, whoever's on that short list.
Let me jump in there, Jim. Is the intent here is to not put any timeframes on these items, but they find a company that can do all these items.
Right,
And
right.
so that's, we can certainly put all these things down and just make sure we get a company. And if it's 2 years before we, if it's, it's 2 years before we get all the necessary permits and
Right.
then
It's gonna take 2 years.
and so, but I think it's all kind of independent. We could still get the permission for the drawdown while someone else is still, while they're still working on the 91 license.
Well, not if you're looking to get it in just one order of conditions. You'll never get the chapter 91 license.
Mark, could I make a
And
comment?
you have to have an order of conditions to even apply for a chapter 91 license.
Yeah,
Maybe you could jump in here.
may I make a comment?
Yes.
Yeah. So, to get the chapter 91 permit, you're gonna need an order of conditions. So the permit, the 91 permit may take you a couple of years to get. That's with the state, but you first have to get an OOC from the Concom. So because you've got this deadline that you need to get an OOC for the drawdown by the fall, because the drawdown needs to happen, that's kind of driving this. And so I don't really understand what the problem is, because you're going forward with an RFP to get a consultant to do all that for you, which seems like the right thing to do. So it seems like a great thing that you're moving on it. I don't know. I just want to say, I don't know, Terry was mentioning a wildlife habitat evaluation. I don't know what's needed. I think you want to hear from your consultant when you hire them, whether they think they need one or not.
Well, that was something that was a requirement by the Conservation Commission. 2 meetings ago, we talked a lot about the need that we have to get an updated wildlife habitat management.
I don't know that we ever made a decision as a commission saying that the wildlife habitat evaluation, a new one needed to be done, or whether an update to the existing one. I mean, I think no, there haven't
That's
been.
where
any-
there's a breakdown of communication between what the commission's wanting. This is a town structure. And there was all kinds of, I mean, we had lengthy discussions about how 2 or 3 meetings ago, how there was no endangered species habitat. And then there was in 2018, and that needs to be done over. We had a whole meeting about
so
that.
that-
Beth Wilson was here.
Let me come in here. Let's give, Mary, you all set, or you have another
Well,
comment?
I can clarify this with Mary, but, and there's some confusion here, but Mary, my understanding is no decision's been made and it would be premature. We can't make a decision until we have an application before us. So we can't say exactly what you need to do. That isn't our job. That isn't our job at this stage in the game. And so I don't think we have done that. Mary, you agree?
Mary, I'm going to turn it
yes.
to you.
Yeah, I guess my comment right now is that, nice discussion, but we need to move on with the RFP to get somebody who'll be able to do all these things. And that's what's on the table, is the RFP, not who's going to do what or what money it's going to cost. The first step is we got to get this out for a bid, find somebody that can do all the things we need to do, and then decide order or how we're going to figure out doing it. So I'd
So
like
I
to make a motion to accept Mark's draft RFP.
I have to agree with Mary on this, because I'm not, it's not our job to worry about where the money's coming from. It's our job is to get this, to get the process rolling. And what studies we need, and it's all academic at this point.
So did Mary make a motion? Did I hear that?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, so Mary, we have a motion on the floor to accept the RFP with a couple of changes.
Yes.
And
Second,
any discussion?
I just I have an issue incorporating the telecommunications as part of the RFP because that's something that the engineer would determine down the road. It's,
That's not
it's,
the proposal now, so this was not.
but
No, but I think it's, on the other side of the coin, I'd want to have a company who's capable of doing an analysis and say, okay, here's your dam, this you have, here's the infrastructure you have in place, make a recommendation on a monitoring system, based upon their experiences. And they may say, there's nothing we can do that we know is reliable and it's going to work.
Right.
But we need to ask that question. I think it's worthwhile to ask someone that question.
right, as long as it's not contingent upon that system being installed, we're
Right.
basically looking for an engineer to do X, Y, and Z services for the town, and they may come back, their professional engineers come back and say, hey, this might be a good idea for this.
That's all I'm looking for.
Okay,
Right, so
to make it clear that we're not committing to putting that type of system in or
No.
making that recommendation to the Board of Selectmen.
I think we have a system that's working right now. Or a staff a staff gauge that's out there. So we have a system that's worked, that's publicly available by someone who drives by and they can see the level of the lake. This is just a proposal to say, is there an approach, a cost-effective approach to monitor it electronically? And that's all it says at this point is Terry. So I think it's worthwhile to just ask the question.
In the ice loading analysis and all of that will be when the Morris has always been the one to inspect the condition of the spillway and the mouth of the spillway and different mouths of the spillways in the different concrete conditions dictate as to, how that handles ice loading and stuff. So that professional engineer's opinion. And I think when someone puts their stamp on it, like Morris would or I would or whatever, that carries weight. That's not, so you can question it, but, I mean.
Well, I don't think we're going to question it. I think we're just going to ask. We're going to ask Morris or whoever does the next dam inspection to comment on it and give their opinion. And their opinion is, it is what it is.
And hopefully, when their opinion and they justify their opinion, that people accept that,
Yeah.
and
I think they will.
the town can move forward.
Yeah,
with it.
there's an issue here at this point. Too.
Okay.
Any other comments? Eric.
Yeah, you just asked initially about how do we proceed with this? And my sense is, and I'm not quite sure whether this is legal with open meeting law or not, but one way to do it would be to make the changes you're making to the document, basically to pass around the draft of that document electronically to the committee and just say, anybody object to what I'm doing here, blah, blah, blah. And then that would be the answer to how to get it going. That's one answer. I'm not sure it's open meeting law legal. I'm not sure about that. Miriam might know.
Hi, yes, because we do this all the time. Thank you, Eric. The way to do this is that one person holds the document and does the edits. They share
Right.
the draft. You share the draft to your committee, and then each person, if they have edits or suggestions, they send those only to the holder of the
Yes.
document, not to the whole committee, because otherwise it becomes an electronic deliberation. And
Right.
the person working on that draft has the liberty to incorporate the feedback. And that's how you do it. Thank you.
So
And we've already done that. That's all been sent out, to look at that. So my motion is that we accept what we've already put out. And
Well,
move
we've
it
never
in-
seen the final document because Mark's gonna have to make some changes to it, right? Have
That's
we ever
correct.
seen the final document?
No, you haven't. So how about this for an approach? I'll make the edits on Monday or tomorrow. They won't take me long to do. I'll circulate it to everybody and give everybody, let's say, till the end of the week or a couple of days to look at it and send me back their comments. And if there's any changes, I'll incorporate those. And then once everyone's happy with it, I'll get it off to Becky and she can get it off to the engineering companies. Does that seem appropriate?
either that, Mark, or I would suggest maybe that you take everyone's opinion. Or if there's edits, like the suggestions Miriam has made, the two, I read your document as you prepared it, and I'm fine with what I have in front of me with that, without any edits to it, because we are just trying to get an engineer at this point, but the RFP and the cost and bringing those people on isn't gonna be until FY 24 anyway, so I don't think, you know, just taking that and we have another discussion about it at the next meeting once those edits. So I like to see stuff.
I would like, like to get moving along quicker than Terry because of the urgency to get this done before the November 1st timeframe. And a month delay is another, this is pretty significant.
But we can't, and maybe Eric could speak to this, but unless the Board of Selectmen appropriates the 25,000 in this current, in the budget process,
That's.
you wouldn't be even be able to afford to hire the engineers or anyone to do this.
We still need to move forward with this. So I think Mark's suggestion is fair. So we can get this, you know, it's got to go to Becky, get revised and go to the select board. So timing is very important.
Catherine?
We have been asked to help prepare this request for proposal. We haven't been asked to do anything else really, and that's what we are doing here. And I would think that what we could do is vote to accept this RFP in principle, assuming that Mark is going to make a few of the changes that were made here and trust him to create an appropriate request. We don't need to monitor every single word he writes, right? We agree in principle with everything that's in this proposal. So why don't we just vote to accept it with whatever changes Mark feels appropriate to make based on our discussion here today?
I agree with that.
Or we're just handing this off to the town administrator.
That's exactly right.
Because in our advisory capacity,
Yeah.
so this isn't the final public procurement document.
That's-
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Legal stuff, that's.
Yeah, so I think, this is just a really kind of like to help Becky understand the scope of work, what needs to be done.
Sure.
So I'll change my motion to say, you know, that we accept it in principle as is with the couple of changes Mark will make and then move it on to Becky to finalize and move the process forward.
I'd second that motion.
Okay, let's have a vote. Let's start with John. Howard? Yes. Terry?
Yes.
Walter?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes,
Mary?
Yes.
And Mark is a yes. Okay. Good, thank you very much. All right, so let's move on to the next agenda item, before the generator kicks on again. This is a quick one. We discussed at our last meeting that we wanted the town to put in $25,000 a year. This is the wording I came up with. Is that okay? Can I send that up to the town? We want to make changes to this wording.
can I just make one quick comment? I believe it's Morris, right? Is it? Am I
Morris, yeah.
still-
Yeah, MORIS.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, thank you.
We change that every time.
I did a lot of changes to that. Good.
The only thing I might add is on the somewhere in that in that sentence, just about the ongoing dam inspections, blah, 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 and permit, I would just add and permitting, into that sentence.
Okay.
It's sort of implied, but I guess I would just put it in there.
Well, the idea though, we had discussed a lot. I'm okay with that, but at our last meeting, we talked about the idea of the sort of dam maintenance inspections were different from the permit process. But I'm fine with this. I'm okay.
The crucial thing is asking for the money.
Yeah, that's all right. So I'll add that information.
Because this amount per year based upon the inspection that might be done in June, like the 25,000 that we discussed that recommending seems reasonable for what we just discussed with the RFP process. But the repairs that are
Needed.
that are currently needed, plus anything that's occurred over the past 2 years may exceed this. So
So we do, the thing is, we have no idea really what the cost is.
Until.
Yeah.
Right,
This is just
until,
getting a budget item.
yep, to get a line item for this year.
Can
and-
always be modified later on.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so with those two changes, are we okay with that? And I'll get this off to the select board. You know,
Right, time is of the essence
Yes.
because FinCom is putting together the budget.
so does it go to the select board? It must go to the select board and.
It has to come from them, I think.
Okay, all right, so I'll work on that and get that out of you on Monday at the latest.
But the
Okay.
FinCom, just to be clear, the FinCom puts it in the budget, the select board doesn't. The FinCom
Right, but
does.
somebody has to request it, right, Mark?
Right.
Right. I mean, yeah. And that would be you.
Right.
Eric, is the process for the town's budget here, is that where the town administrator prepares the budget and collect in?
No.
Along with the FinCom, or it depends upon the town's population and what the town administrator's capacity
Well,
is.
The town administrator works closely with the FinCom in preparing the budget, but generally speaking, the FinCom is in charge of the budget. I guess the select board, technically speaking, has to
Approved.
approve it before it goes to town meeting and so forth, but we really let the FinCom make those decisions. If you're a committee asking for money, you go to the FinCom and ask for the money, not to us. Although in this particular case, I think coming from the select board, as Kat suggested, is probably a good idea, is a very good idea.
Okay. I'm just trying to understand, because if you have a town manager versus a town administrator, the roles are slightly different, so.
No, there's a little gray area there, to be honest. I think there's a little
Okay.
gray area between select board, FinCom, town, it's a little bit of a gray area. Ultimately, it's the town meeting that makes a decision, obviously, about whether or not a budget is good or not.
Okay,
Thank
John,
you.
thank you. We need to vote on this?
If we do make it more official, I guess.
All right, so is there any more discussion before we vote? On accepting the wording with the edits that were recommended, which is just to get Morris's name right and to include permitting as part of the request, this part of what the money will be used for.
I'll make a motion as such.
We have a second?
Second,
Then, so let's have a vote. We'll start with Catherine this time.
Yes,
Walter,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes,
Howard, John,
Yes.
Mary,
that looked like yes, but you're muted.
and
Yes, sorry.
and Eric.
yes, for me.
Okay, excellent.
You didn't vote.
Oh, Mark, yes. All right, good. Thank you. Let's go on to the next item. This is the egg addling permit. We've gotten permits for the past 5, 6, 7 years to addle the eggs. Past 3 years, we haven't addled any eggs because we couldn't find any. So my thoughts is not bother to apply for a permit this year because it doesn't do anything. Until someone finds it and nests that have eggs in it, there's no point in trying to get the permit. That's okay with everybody.
If a nest is found, can we get a permit in a timely manner to deal with it?
Yeah, it doesn't take long at all.
Who issues the permit?
It's issued by DCR. Forgot the guy's name.
Age
H,
something.
yeah, H, yeah.
Mass Wildlife.
It's Mass Wildlife too, okay.
Yeah, Hughesman, something like that.
Remember the guy's H. Husband?
H. Husband, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So there's a guy we've been dealing with for years. He's straightforward. It's no problem if we need to get one.
Okay.
And that's the town applies for it. LWAC doesn't do it. I just fill out the paperwork for the town. Catherine historically assigned it to the Board of Health. And we're good.
They're starting to nest now.
Yeah,
Starting to see signs of the ducks and the geese
but
pairing up now, so if people see them, then they should probably. a month from now, they might be sitting on the eggs already.
Yeah.
Do you do it in Ames Pond also?
We don't do Ames Pond because the town doesn't own Ames Pond, and the owners of Ames Pond never have never. Wanted to do it. That's right. So it's, it's one of those things. I think the geese population for the past couple of years has been pretty good. There's some people that said the eagles that are helping to manage geese population. So I'm going to go a year and say we don't need it. That's okay with everybody. I think Miriam has her hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to let LWAC know, because this was discussed by the Conservation Commission, that, if nests are found in Southbrook Conservation Area, we would want to have this reviewed with us before any egg gathering.
Agreed.
Thanks.
I think the reality is no one of the group that works for Nest goes up there or is capable of going up there. So I don't think we're going to find anything up there. All right. Any other comments on egg gathering? Okay, next item is the Burkhog watershed based plan. I had gotten an email from them last week that said they hope to have a draft available for public review in mid-May. I understand Miriam has had a conversation with them also, which I think essentially says the same thing. Is that correct, Miriam?
I'm sorry, what, can you say that again?
Oh, I'm talking about the FERCog's plan for the watershed review and public review.
Yeah, so I got an email and I don't have it in front of me, so let me try to remember it, from Tamsin, that they want the Conservation Commission to review the document and give any comments by May 12th. And then they want to schedule a joint Select Board and Conservation Commission public meeting, sounded like perhaps in early June, and have a public comment period, and then have a final public meeting in August is, I think, the time frame. And yeah, so I just got the draft to us on Friday and shared it with the commission, and my guess is we'll discuss it at our hopefully maybe our next meeting in 2 weeks.
Can you share that draft with us, Miriam?
I'd prefer if you just it was marked just for the Conservation Commission. Could you ask them directly for a copy?
Yeah, I will. I'll be glad to do that.
I don't think they want it released to the public because it's going to go through some revisions. And so, I mean, it's a public record, obviously it can be released to the public, but, we're not putting it up on our website, for example, at this stage, because it's, not in a form yet.
Yeah, I'll contact Tim.
I have a question, Mark, when you were giving them materials and they were reviewing them, did they incorporate Emily Stockman's wildlife habitat evaluation in their database that they looked at?
I have no idea what they did. I've never seen a draft of this.
Okay, well, it's very similar to the draft that came last year, and I just wondered when you were giving them information if they ever got that. Might to give it to them.
Mark, could I just ask a question on this? So this is something for 10 years that LWAC's been taking the lead on.
Guess we lost him again.
God, all works even up here in Maine, it's working. They just got electricity last week up here, I think.
Okay. All right, so Terry, you were saying something?
The only question I had, Mark, is I'm a bit confused because of the charge of LWAC. And what our charge is. We've kind of led the charge on this conceptual watershed-based plan for the better part of 10 years, as you know. It started with the road work around Lake Wyola, private roads. But then because Lake Wyola is a basin area, you have to look at the whole watershed area, which then includes town roads. And over time, various people that joined the Conservation Commission or who served on LWAC, who've come and gone and different things, but you've kind of carried the torch along with Catherine in terms of coordination of this watershed-based plan. Now I find it a bit irritating as a member of the committee that the two people that have been instrumental in this don't even have a copy of the report. And now the Conservation Commission seems to have gone about and contacted FERCog themselves to get this. This is something that was part of our charge, led by us over an extended period of time. And for this to move forward, it involved collaboration, which prior town administrator, I think Becky initiated and did a good job at the very beginning of this to try to include like Wendell in this and different things. So there's a whole history of things that went on here. And ultimately, when this comes through, the basis for this was not so the town of Shutesbury would have to absorb costs with it, that this was a big plan that could involve multiple towns. It involved multiple dam structures. It involved multiple water courses that flow into Lake Wyola. Okay, and the concern for that. And for any actions to be taken, it might require, like when the dam was repaired in 2008, a big effort on behalf of our legislature and who our representatives and senators are to get support. If we're looking at several $100,000 worth of multiple $700,000 of work, if Wendell stepped up and they had to address some of their dam repairs that impact Lake Wyola, they just continue to ignore them. I mean, we could be talking $750,000. So I'm just perplexed why we sitting here today, that there's a document that was provided by FERCog to the Conservation Commission, yet the very committee that was responsible for that even evolving doesn't have a copy of it. That's wrong, in my opinion.
Could I make a comment?
Yeah, go ahead, Marion.
I don't want to be obstructive here, and I'm happy to share this document with LWAC. I mean, it says, the document says for Conservation Commission review, so that was right across.
And they have a representative from the Conservation Commission that sits on LWAC.
Excuse me, I'm talking, please. I don't have a problem, and I'm sorry if I misspoke and spoke too quickly a moment ago. I'm happy to just, Mary can go ahead and forward it. I mean, that, we want to work with LWAC. You have to talk to FERCog about what their process is. My understanding from what I was told is that, these watershed plans, there's kind of a standard process that's done in different communities that don't have an LWAC. And that usually the process is this public review process with the select board and the Conservation Commission. And obviously, we would welcome, and I'm sure, the understanding would be that LWAC would be a part of that. If we have a joint meeting, maybe it would be all three boards would meet collectively. We're not meaning to exclude LWAC in any way. And certainly that's not my intention. And it's not the intention, I think, of FERCog. So they just sent it to us. So this is what they gave us. And
well, that's good to know, Marion, because between the waterways licensing and your emails directly to them, all of the stuff that your communications to DEP wetlands, which is where the Conservation Commission's jurisdiction falls. Well, all of these emails that go back and forth and taking the charge when you're the chairperson of the Conservation Commission, that carries some weight as an authority in town, which that authority falls under the Wetlands Protection Act. There has not been any filings for this. And that's why the town has multiple committees to serve in this capacity. And this is just, again, it's another slap in the face of the committee members that are appointed on LWAC, in my mind, because we're the ones that have led this for over 10 years. And maybe you don't have the historical information and all of that, but the same thing occurred with the waterways licensing on the lake and stuff. I mean, there's how many committees in town, and it seems all of a sudden that one person in one committee, the Conservation Commission, is trying to take control over everything.
Well, so I'd like to,
I just would like to say for the minutes, and I hope this recording will make it clear that I believe that's an ad hominem attack and is inappropriate for a public meeting. And I think we're trying to be respectful here, and I would just appreciate everybody using some restraint here and remaining collegial. Thank you.
Well,
yeah, no, I agree.
okay. It's just it's very frustrating for spending 14 years on a committee, spearheading it, sitting with a handful of people here that have spent a whole bunch of time on the dam matters going back 20 plus years. And on the waterways, save this town a lot of money in terms of all the taxpayers. And then all of a sudden, in the past 3-4 years, everything that was done previously goes out the window.
Jared, I think I appreciate the comments, but I think we need to move on here. And the goal here is to get things accomplished, and whatever mechanism works is okay with me. Mary, you had your hand raised?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment too. As a member of both committees, what Terry's saying is absolutely not true. And that does need to be in the record that nobody's trying to take over control of anything. We're trying to work together, which is why we're here communicating.
Okay, thank you, everybody. So somehow we'll circulate a copy of that. Either if I get it from Tamsin or I get it from Mary, or Mary could circulate it to the group also. Any other comments on that subject? Okay, good. So the last item on this is anything that we forgot about, anything that we didn't anticipate. Any other items that someone wants to bring up? Eric, you have the floor.
Yeah, two things very quickly. One is the Lake Wyola Dam Advisory Committee. I mean, the idea of having no access to the dam and so forth, the way that's going to happen, if it happens, is through a bylaw. And that bylaw will have to be passed at town meeting. And the select board is going to talk about that in theory, if the rest of the town doesn't fall apart in the meantime, on 4/25. So if people want to go to that, I'm just letting people know that that's probably going to be in the agenda. You can look on the town calendar to see if it is in the agenda. And if you want to contribute to that discussion or whatever, then there it is. The second thing I would point out is I guess this would be something we should talk to Becky about. My sense is that it would be easy to reprogram the generator exercise time so that it didn't keep doing this. I mean, we used to have a generator at work, and really, it's one of those things you could just go out and say, do it at such and such a time and push the buttons and accept. And, it's a third grade exercise to go out, and at least it was in those days, to set the time. So, I mean, I think this problem could be solved pretty easily, I'm guessing.
This problem should be such trivial to solve, but I've asked Becky to change the time. I sent her emails on it. Walter has, I know Catherine has. We're just not in control, I think. And I don't know what to say, or maybe the select board will.
No, I'll be glad to ask Becky, but I mean, it may be one of those things we have to get Rob or somebody to, a professional to do it. I don't know, but it seems to me to be worth spending the money on to do it. It couldn't cost that much.
I support that idea.
I'll bet you do.
It's so frustrating.
Yeah,
It really
Walter
is.
may be doing it right this minute.
All right, any other items to bring up?
Oh, just one small
So I went
matter.
out,
The
go ahead.
sign is in progress, the sign for the boat launch. It's in progress. Probably it'll be done within a week.
Okay.
So somebody will need to install.
I'll take care of the installation of the sign.
Do you have a post?
I have tools of all kinds,
Okay.
post hole diggers and everything.
Okay.
Mary, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, mine was similar comments to Eric. As I drove by the dam the other day, there were cars parked there, families out on the dam, kids running up and down the dam in bathing suits, jumping off of it. I did report it, so somebody would go look at it, but, I hope at the committee that we actually look at least putting up signs, whether we do anything else, no parking signs to keep the cars off of there. Because there were twice this week, there were cars parked there with people jumping off the dam. And it is worrisome when you see, kids as small as my granddaughter running up and down the dam.
We'll
my-
see
my
how
other
it
sug-
goes. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I mean, if
agree.
nothing else, we should put no parking signs there because they're parking in the culvert there, partially blocking the road. And I think we could do that without having to go and, address all the other issues. It's still a no parking zone. And I agree about the generator. My suggestion was going to be, if they're not going to fix it, can we change the meeting till 10 o'clock? Not
The
that,
problem with
not that
that,
anybody wants to do that, but it is getting pretty irritating to
the
not
problem
get
is
this fixed.
it would have to be after 10:30. No, what's, it comes on 10:20 and then goes off, no, it comes on at 9:20 and then goes off. When was the last?
About half an hour.
Oh, so maybe at 10 o'clock,
Why not change it to Sunday?
the meeting?
Yeah.
Oh, the generators.
Or change it to 5 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't have to be, just doesn't have to be in the middle of business.
I'm not sure.
All right, so we'll see what we can do about the generator. I'll make a concerted effort again. And is it?
One other thing, back to the dam. We're talking about restricting people. How about the purchase of the land, so when the culvert's out and we do work on the dam, that we can bring equipment down there? We have no way to get to the dam. Nobody's talking about.
Yeah, Eric, ask Eric, that's gonna be part of what the select board meeting encompasses.
Is it?
I know that's what we discussed at the select board. I mean, I think the idea was to get the bylaw on for the town meeting. We're trying to get the town meeting bylaw, some sort of sense of what the town meeting bylaw should be. We certainly could talk about that as well, I'm thinking. We haven't talked about doing that, just that we, the dam committee, have recommended to the town that we figure out a way to get that land so that we, the town, can drive on it to maintain it and so forth. So yes and no, I guess I'm trying to answer your question, but I don't know exactly what will be on the agenda. The agendas are very crowded these days, I can tell you that.
Well, it wasn't a problem before, but now they're gonna do the culvert in July. And it was gonna be in September before.
Right. Well, I think that the answer to that question would be like the company who is going to do the construction can do it in July. And it's one of those things that have been so many delays on that thing that we felt that given that the Conservation Commission permit runs out in the fall, it seemed like, okay, let's just do it. And someone pointed out, well, it might be sort of a pain in the neck for people who want to go to the beach and so forth. But if you do it in the fall, it's a pain for the school buses. So there's a problem with any time you do it.
Mark, did you get an updated schedule to share with the committee?
Yes, I did. It was reviewed at the select board meeting, and so I saw it. I haven't gotten one. But Becky said that she's going to be reaching out to everybody in the near future with the schedule. But the
Okay.
schedule has a July 10th starting date and where the road will be closed on July 10th. And reopened September.
September sometime, my recollection.
Yeah, I think it's important that we can start getting that news out to people.
And
Yeah,
that's really,
it's very
that's really Becky's responsibility. John.
Eric,
Eric,
just a point of clarification, what Howie was trying to say is when the construction company and everything that's been permitted was involved, we thought we owned that property. Construction
Right.
company itself may have to go onto that property, which we now know is private property. So shouldn't that be part of the discussion in case certain things have to be
Yeah, no,
arranged with the construction company who's gonna work on the culvert?
So I believe the construction company said they weren't going to have to utilize that property. Is
Yeah,
that
it's not
question
my-
was asked?
Yeah, it's not our
That's-
property.
I'll mention this to Becky. I don't know. I mean, that was my sense too. They weren't gonna have to really get onto the dam itself or go down that way, but I could not really understand what the process is here, so I don't know. But we should, I agree with John. I agree with John and Howie that we should get it clarified one way or the other. That's for sure.
the two other things I mentioned to Becky and to the select board was the request to reposition the rear so it's functional. And the other thing is that the company who's doing the construction company also we put some marks on the culvert so that we know what the flow rate is. And then that's something I discussed with that company a year or 2 years ago, so it shouldn't be a big deal for them to do this. Okay. Any other items to discuss? All right. With that, it's 10:25
And move to adjourn.
wait a second.
Second,
All right, thank you.
thank you, Mark.
You're welcome. Take care. All right, end the meeting.
Yeah.